Recently, I watched James Cameron's Avatar, and I noticed that a lot of themes present in the movie really reflected real life. One of these themes in particular stood out to me.
Find out what the blue monkeys want.
I noticed that the humans had a level of racism towards the indigenous people of Pandora. I thought I would dive further into this, but seeming as I'm not indigenous to anywhere and I have never experienced racism, I thought I would reach out to someone who's a bit more experienced than me.
My name is Naomi. My traditional name is Shkel Ouch. That means education and leadership. I'm from the Statlium Nation. I work at the University of British Columbia. I am a manager there. I grew up, picking berries and, hunting with my family, eating traditional medicines and traditional foods. So it was quite a traditional background.
I thought Naomi might be able to provide insight on the topics I was discussing.
After I moved to the city, I feel like I did experience a little bit of racism in regards to how I dressed or how I looked. And it was a little bit hard to kind of fit in when I wasn't used to being in such a big setting. There's a lot of negative assumptions placed towards Indigenous people, and it's really difficult when they look at Indigenous people as all the same, like we're poor or that we steal or that, that we're all like alcoholics or whatever. It's a little bit funny when people look at me and say, well, you're an Indigenous expert. No, I'm not. I don't even speak my traditional language fluently. I'm still trying to learn my teachings because we lost a lot of our teachings because of residential school. Our language was taken away, and a lot of our traditional ways of knowing and doing were taken away. And they're lost and forgotten because our grandparents were beaten up and our parents were beaten up for speaking the language or for, trying to talk about traditional teachings. So when they went home after residential school, they were scared to talk about it. So when they raised their own children, they didn't share those teachings with their children, or they didn't remember them because they were beaten out of them.
Naomi mentioned that she feels that she is treated differently because she looks and dresses differently than those around her. She also talked about how Indigenous culture is less prevalent due to colonization. This is very similar to an Avatar, where the Na'vi are forced to relocate and change their ways of living due to the economic greed of the humans. I think this is what James Cameron was going for as one of the messages of the film. But while Avatar is completely fictional, racism and mistreatment of Indigenous people is a real issue. I needed to know what could be done.
For people that are non-Indigenous, being a good ally is really important. Taking the time to do research on different Indigenous backgrounds and cultures, learning about it in school. Indigenous people need to feel safe when they have like a gathering or a ceremony in the city. I think that would be really important to have a safe space to do so. That's really sad and really unfortunate that people don't take the time to educate themselves about traditional medicines or traditional ceremonies. And if an Indigenous person wants to practice a ceremony in an urban setting, I think it's really important that they have that space to do so and to feel safe to do so.
After my talk with Naomi, I felt inspired to go out and take more time to learn about Indigenous culture and Indigenous history. It is important that we do not treat anyone differently because of how they look or what culture they celebrate. As more people learn about the wrongdoings of the past, we are able to secure a bright future for Indigenous people and culture everywhere.